Hello, divine beings. Hello, hello. We are getting ready to go live with our divine masculine conversations again today with Joe Metcalfe. This is going to be a conversation that I'm so excited to have. He is the author of the inner peace experiment. And he is coming on with us today to talk about his journey, to talk about his book, to talk about everything that he's experienced throughout his journey of self-actualization. So I'm super excited to have him. I'm just here inviting some people into the chat, into the live, so we can get started. And I'm super excited to be doing this series. It keeps getting better and better every time we speak to another gentleman, another divine masculine man. It's just, really a testament to, realizing that there are more men out there than we think that are in the divine masculine, that are doing the work, that are doing inner work, that are, turning themselves inside out to become who they are, to be contributions to society, to be loving, to be open, vulnerable, powerfully vulnerable. We've been learning that vulnerability for men is not a weakness, it's actually a power. And, a lot of the things that we've been talking about in this series, is part of the work that I do, that I've been doing with men in the men's workshops that I've done, the men's circles that I've done for the last few years, and that I continue to do and be honored and grateful to be able to do. So, these guys have really come on and just opened their hearts, opened their minds, and allowed us into their journeys, into their processes, their techniques. And it's just been really fun and really amazing to see, and also really eye-opening. I've been getting messages from people, oh my God, this is amazing. I've learned so much. This helped me with my children. This helped me with my relationship. It's just, it really is about creating healing. And hey guys, welcome. We have Dr. Pablo in the house. Casey, hey, Miss Linda's in the house, yes. Welcome as we get settled in to get started with the talk. But, as I was saying, it really is about healing. This whole series is about healing. We wonder about the divine masculine, and we talk a lot about toxic masculinity. Earlier this week, we learned from Michael DeSanti that what we need to be redefining is toxic masculinity, not masculinity, because masculinity in itself is divine, and in its purest form, in its organic, natural form, it is divine. And so we are being called to start treating it that way, and we're being called to start respecting and honoring each other as different genders, but as human beings. And we also learned this week that it's not about feminine or masculine; it's about being human. And so, it's just been such an eye-opening experience so far. And so if you know people that are interested in being on this live and checking this out and hearing this conversation, send it to them, share it with them, let people know that we're going live today for another Divine Masculine Conversations, because the live conversations, it's where it's at. It's where you really get the feeling of the person. You get to engage, you get to ask questions, you get to be, in the moment of what's said. So many surprises have come up, so many cool little openings into their lives, into their deepest, most intimate experiences. So it's really exciting to be a part of it live. So send it to your friends, share, and hang on for just a moment as we get ready to start at 3. Just so you know, for those of you out there that may not know, I'm a transformational trainer and transformational coach. I am a self-love mindset coach, and I focus on 4 things. I focus on divine feminine and masculine energies, on self-love, on energy and vibration, and on inner child healing. And so that's my wheelhouse of my work. That's my toolkit, if you will. And basically that's my own journey, my own transformational journey. Everything that I went through in my 20 plus years of transformation, I put into my work and I put into my programs. Hey Casey, oh my gosh, it's so good to see you here. It's been a minute, girl. I miss you. Welcome, welcome. You're going to love this. It's so good. It's so, so, so good. By the way, for those of you who have missed the Divine Masculine Conversations from this week, click on the link on my bio, put in your email, and you'll get the recordings into your inbox. So you can get all the recordings. It's been over, I think, seven or eight interviews so far, and they've been incredible. Hi, Rosas Traley. Hi, hola, welcome. Oh, wait, hold on. Miss you too. Great to catch this. Oh, yay, awesome. Is that Maricela? I think that's Maricela. Anyway, sometimes people's names are different on the handles, so I gotta learn everybody's handle. Anyway, so if you missed the lives earlier this week, no problem. Get them in the chat. Yes, Maricela. Okay, awesome. I was right. Yay, another self-love guru here in journey of self-love and teaching self-love to women. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you. You're going to love this, okay? By the way, you are going to love this. We are going deep with men on a level that I'm in this work. I do this work for a living. I'm constantly immersed in this type of work. And I have not seen a series like the one we're doing here with Divine Masculine Conversations, going really deep with these men, opening like soul conversations about relationships, about their journeys, about what Divine Masculine is. It's been incredible. So you guys are definitely in for a treat. We're just waiting for Joe to join at 3. If you guys have any questions about the Divine Masculine, even about the Divine Feminine, post them up. If you have any curiosities, questions, are you in a relationship? Is anything funny? What's going on? Post it up. We'll do our best to answer the questions. We always leave the questions towards the end. So if you have to jump off before your question is answered, make sure to click the link in the bio and put your email in there, and we'll send you the recording without a problem. So what else am I missing? So this whole week, last week and this week is all going to be about Divine Masculine. And on June 30th, I'm hosting a free Divine Feminine workshop. A free Divine Feminine workshop on June 30th. And if you sign up to get the recordings, you also get a free complimentary pass to go into that workshop. It's a virtual workshop, so you can take it from anywhere. So I'm super excited because that's going to be the counterbalance to all the Divine Masculine stuff that we've learned in the last 2 weeks. So it really is like integrating everything and bringing everything full circle. Welcome, Crystal. We're just getting started. We're going to start in about a minute with our Divine Masculine Conversations. I'm so excited to have you guys here. We're going to dive in, no matter if you're driving, working, doing laundry, cooking, just put your headphones in and listen in on this great conversation. Joe Metcalfe happens to be the author of a book that he wrote called The Inner Peace Experiment. The Inner Peace Experiment. And he wrote it based on what he experienced in his life. So I'm super, super excited to hear his journey. Every time I hear another one of these Divine Masculine men's journey, it opens up inspiration for me. It opens up something new for me. So I'm sure it's doing the same for you guys. Alan's in the house. Hi, Alan. Alan and I met at Sacred Union, this event that one of our Divine Masculine men did. He's coming on Sunday, Jeff Parker, who co-hosted this event called Sacred Union about the feminine and masculine. And that's where Alan and I met. So welcome, Alan. So great to have you here. Solange in the house. Hi, Solange. Solange is a comadre with me. I'm part of a group called Las Comadres. It's a business networking and sisterhood group, phenomenal in Miami. Solange is on there with me. Solange actually caught the live, I think yesterday, the day before, and that was lit. That live was off the chain. That was with Michael DeSanti. Oh my gosh, that was incredible. That was so good. So just give us a minute. We're going to start in just a moment. Let me get Joe on here. Welcome everybody as we get situated. Let your friends know, forward this live. Get your questions in. Here we are. Yay! Hi, Joe.
How are you? Great to see you.
Oh my gosh, great to see you. You know, I was just talking about Sacred Union because Alan came on and Alan was there. And I just realized that was the last time I saw you.
What a great event that was, right?
Amazing.
And we got to share together too. It was just a beautiful experience.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad out of everybody that was there, I got you as a partner that day. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. Wow, that was just phenomenal.
Likewise, it was just such an incredible experience, and just to share openly and vulnerably with so many, just divine women and have conversations about that polarity of masculine, feminine energy and relationships. It was really powerful. So, so cool.
Amazing. Well, first of all, Joe, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I'm so grateful and honored that you decided to come on and be of service to us and share your journey with us. Thank you so much.
Grateful to be here. Thank you so much.
Amazing. And I always like to start with, because a lot of people may not know who you are. I mean, they read your bio probably. Hi, Gordita One, welcome. But I always like to give people an opportunity to hear from your own words, like a little bit about you, what you're up to, what you're passionate about, who is Joe in your own words.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so I live in Miami Beach. Again, I'm good friends with Mia. We've been part of the same community for a while now, and yeah, so I've run my own company now the last 3 years called Miami Beach Masterminds, which is a personal development company which gets people together to share ideas and helping people lower stress, have more peace of mind, and how to achieve your goals as well without the stress, right? That's been a big thing for me over the last few years, is how to effectively tap in and hit your goals and perform better and produce more, get better results in your personal life, get better results in your work life, but do it without the stress. How to do it in a more mindful way, right?
Yes.
Doing it in a more mindful way where, eradicating stress is just as important, if not more important, than actually producing those results. Because once you let go of the stress, once you have more inner peace and inner calm, you can start getting more clarity and more intention, and just everything starts to hit in a much, much more fluid, smoother way. So I love teaching that balance of performance and inner peace, appreciation and productivity. So that's kind of been one of the themes in terms of the topics I talk about. And but it was a journey of mine that started way back 10, 11 years ago, because I was in the corporate world, Mio, and I was 100% on the driver masculine side. I was all in on my goals. I was all in on my external reality, like trying to impress people, trying to be liked, trying to get
societal,
right, trying to get recognition from my boss, my coworkers, my peers.
Oh, Jeff Parker's in the house.
Oh,
Jeff Parker's here. He's going to be interviewed this weekend.
Our boy.
Yes, welcome. We were just talking about Sacred Union, Jeff. We gave you a shout out.
He's been one of my most influential divine masculines over the last couple of years, being part of his men's group, and just being in his community of people has been life-changing for me. And I wholeheartedly mean that, because over the last year I started tapping into the divine masculine and learning more about it. So, but yeah, Jeff.
But yeah, okay, so back to you. So back to what you do. So you said a few years ago you started this company.
Yeah.
And you also co-create Miami Made, no?
Yes. So I didn't create it, but when I was a member for a couple of years, and the original founders decided to let it go, not let it go, but stop working on it because they were focused on their main business. And as a member, I jumped in and said, hey, I'll take over this community and start facilitating it, start hosting it, and providing value to it. So I basically just carried on the torch from them, along with Julian Castro, who was on with you yesterday. And we've been hosting it now for over a year together. And this is amazing because it's really combining business and entrepreneurship with the conscious community, and how you can look at business and look at growing consciously, both personally and professionally, and in your community. So we really try to tie all those things in together with Miami Made. So yeah, any entrepreneur out there that's looking to find a great community, a great membership, where we meet monthly and also virtually. So we're meeting twice a month, and we have special evening events as well. But that's been a lot of fun too over the last year and a half. So I've been diving into Miami Made as well. So yeah.
Amazing. And you're also the author of a book, which I've been shouting out all day long. Tell us about your book.
Yes, The Inner Peace Experiment. Thank you. And this was a journey of mine that's kind of what was created from my transformation about 10 or 11 years ago. And as I was in the corporate space and I was stressed out all the time, I was in this rut of just trying to chase the next commission sale or chase the next big material acquisition, right? Like the nice apartment or the nice car. I kind of got caught in the rat race for a while. And that led to my stress levels rising, getting anxiety, getting stressed, and really feeling unhappy. I had like this tolerable anxiety that kept building up and building up and building up. So at one point where I was just like, something has got to change, right? And there was one moment in my life that kind of was like the big awakening moment for me, or the big kind of epiphany that I had, is because I was on stage speaking for my old company in the corporate space. And this is a real estate company, and we were doing trainings on how people can invest in real estate. So I'm on stage speaking in front of like 60 or 70 investors and realtors on a presentation I've done like hundreds of times. And all of a sudden I'm halfway through the presentation, Mio, and I start to get like these spots like in my vision and dizziness, and my heart rate starts to just go up wildly. And I start to get like this like just incredible anxiety and fear. And I had a full-blown panic attack on stage in front of like 70 people. And I had to stop the presentation. I had to sit down. I had to drink water. I had to catch my breath. Like, it was just a scary moment. And that was like the moment where I was like, I need a change. Like, I need to figure something out here and do something different in my life. So from that point in time, I dedicated my life. This is about 10 years ago. This is, 2011. I dedicated my life to learning about meditation, mindfulness, physiological changes that are going on in my body because of my emotions and my mental thought patterns. And and I just
we have Kevin Source Radiance in the house. Kevin Walton saying what's up.
He gave
another divine masculine man.
Incredible talk at Miami Made. He just crushed it for 30 minutes, sharing all his amazing resources and tools.
Yeah, he was here earlier this week too with Divine Masculine Conversations. So great. Thank you for being here, Kevin.
What a great
group. So you're saying, you're on the stage, you have this, like, you basically freeze, I'm sure that you didn't, like, you weren't expecting that. Nobody really expects an anxiety attack. I remember I had an anxiety attack once when I was actually getting into bed to go to sleep. Like, it was like totally, because of the chronic stress that had built up over so many years, and the cortisol levels and everything, and it just builds up. So you weren't expecting this. This happens, and all of a sudden you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So right there, you decided that you were going to change.
Yeah. It's like at that moment in time, I was like, something needs to shift in my life. And I got introduced to Eckhart Tolle, the book, The Power of Now and A New Earth. But it was so funny.
Yes.
What was so funny is I tried reading this book like 4 years before when I was in my early 20s. I couldn't get through the first chapter.
Me too.
The first chapter, like, that was it. Like, he came out with the big promotion on Oprah, and Oprah promoted his books, and like everyone was talking about it. My friend recommended it to me, and I was like, I can't get through one chapter. So I put it back on the shelf, and I couldn't listen to it. I got the audio book. And then after this panic attack, like 4 years later, back in 2011, I was like, you know what? I need to be more present. I got to figure out what that means, what that looks like. How can I get out of my head? How can I stop this incessant thought, this monkey mind of worries and fears and anxieties and regrets from my past, challenges from my past? How can I get out of that and get back into my heart, into presence? That's all I knew at that time was this book. And I dove into that book with the intentions of really living it. And I listened to Power of Now and A New Earth over and over and over and over again. And I just started to live it. I also started to practice meditation. I meditated almost every day. I was starting to expand my research and knowledge on Buddhism, Eastern philosophy, New Age Christianity, and just things that just helped you kind of let go of this anxiety and help you be more present, not so worried about the future or guilty or shameful about the past. And it shifted everything in my life, Mio. Like, everything just started to become easier and lighter. And you can't really pinpoint what it's like to live a more mindful life or to feel better inside. It's just this sense of you still have lots of BS work to do and lots of crap that you got to deal with, but it doesn't feel as heavy, right? It doesn't feel as
Yeah.
burdensome. And, you know, I think that was a really important thing is just I learned to live lighter. And I started to simplify my life more. And I started to prioritize my work in a much more succinct way. I started to get more clear and more clarity. And I stayed in the real estate industry, the corporate world, for another 4 to 5 years after that panic attack. But I did it in a better way where I
Mm.
chose to work on myself harder than I worked on my job. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oof.
Working harder on yourself
Yes.
more than you work harder on your job. And it's that one shift that changed my entire professional career. And it's like, ironically, I actually produced better at my job when I started working on
Wow.
myself first.
I
And
hope you guys are hearing that out there.
yeah,
Yes.
so that was awesome. That was awesome. And then I was able to actually double my income over that 4 year period. You know, just through like my change in mindset and simplifying my work and getting really dialed in and really focused. And more importantly, I was just living a happier life, living a happier life. So that was really cool. And from there, basically, I started to blog and write as well on the side. So I would do a blog on the weekends. I had a small little website that I was just basically doing book reviews. Like every book that I got value from, I would want to write it in blog form and share it with a small, like my Facebook group. Like I wasn't even like growing the blog. I just liked to do it, right? So then this love for just growing and sharing what I'm learning started to grow. As I'm working real estate, that started to grow on the side. So I was blogging, just getting like 100 views an article for like years, right? Um, but basically, I started to say to myself, like, I'm really called to share more on the personal development and growth side, right? And as much as real estate was going really well, and I had a great job, like a great boss, a great setup, but I knew there was something more for me in terms of like what to share with the world. So that's
Mm.
that's when I started to think about ideas for writing a book. And at the same time, I decided to, this is now 2015, end of 2015, I decided to leave my corporate job and travel the world. So I backpacked for almost 2 years through South America and Asia. And that's when I wrote my book, The Inner Peace Experiment, which was kind of like
Wow.
an accumulation of going from stressed out business guy to someone that wanted more peace and more happiness and more fulfillment in his life. So
Wow, amazing, incredible. So, and Source Radiance Kevin is saying, indeed, yes, about going inward, absolutely. You said something really important, which actually has been mentioned a couple of times with different men in their own journeys, where they had a moment where they kind of felt like there was something more. There was something more for them,
yeah,
something more for you. So walk us through like what that was like. Was that like a physical sensation? Was that an intuition? Was that an inner knowing? Was that emotional? Was that like how did that play out for you? That actual like realization?
yeah, it's a great question. How did that feel? I'm trying to bring myself back, and um, I just remember having feelings of reading books and having conversations with friends that inspired me about personal development and growth, and then having this shift in terms of like, hey, happiness is an inside game, right? And inner peace is kind of, it is the key to have everything else flowing for you, right? Is to have this inner knowing, this inner peace first. And then everything else is secondary, right? Like Eckhart talks about in A New Earth, awaken to your life's purpose. Well, there's two purposes that we have in life, our primary purpose and our secondary purpose. And our secondary purposes is everything outside of ourselves, our job, our, friendships, like those are all super important, right? But the primary purpose is to have that sense of oneness within, right? Oneness with all other beings, oneness with yourself, oneness with whatever it is you connect with spiritually, right? And
Mm-hmm.
understanding that gives you this sense of peace and lightness. And I remember having these feelings of this oneness and being like, I want to just share this more. I want to share this connection that I'm feeling more when I'm reading a book or having this conversation or going to a retreat. I want to share this feeling with others and be like, hey, there is a way to live a more fulfilled life and not having to sacrifice your goals. Like, you don't have to like sell all your possessions and travel the world like a
And go
monk.
live like a hermit or
You
something.
know, don't need to
Yeah.
do that. And I'm realizing that now since I've come back from that journey is like, you can do it in any state. You can have all the materials, the abundance that you want, and still be completely detached and have this sense of inner peace as well. I think there's this balance, and that's talking masculine feminine. There's this masculine feminine balance of surrender and achievement, or results driven um, acquisition, or whatever you want to call it, and this surrender balance, going with the flow, this feminine energy. There's a balance for everything, right? It's like the middle way in Eastern philosophy is having that masculine feminine balance. But back to your question, I felt this like joy, like reading books, and I just knew that what I enjoyed so much was just writing down and sharing an article with people, and just helping myself with the writing, just like to get my thoughts down and to share an experience on how this book helped me, or this conversation with this clerk at a coffee shop helped me realize something about inner peace. So like
Mm.
that was powerful, and then to share that. So I think that it was a buildup for sure. Like, I didn't just like quit my job after that panic attack and then travel the world. Like, I needed to work on myself and get myself prepared to take that leap. But I think by chipping away at it, by doing those weekend blog posts, doing the research, doing the meditations, I was able to build up enough um, uh,
Like inner
inner
fortitude.
fortitude and confidence in making a big shift like that. And I also have to
Mm-hmm.
give one of my friends a lot of credit too, because a friend nudged me to make that decision to quit my job, because he was doing the same thing in his field. He was stuck in a corporate job, and he's like, I'm buying a one-way ticket to Colombia. You're welcome to join me. I'm leaving October 8th.
Wow.
And then I was like, wow, he's doing it. Like, maybe I can do this too. So it might have been different if he didn't have nudged me. So I think that's also part of it, is having an environment and friends that are supporting you for what you're dreaming about, this calling that you have to do something you're passionate about, being around people that are going to support you to do that. So the travels is what sparked the book. I had the book idea once I began my travels.
Amazing. And it really is also about being sensitive or susceptible, or not susceptible, like open to the signs, to the subtle signs that are coming your way,
Yeah.
and like listening to them and being like, oh wait, this came through. Okay, this person, okay, this happened.
Yes.
Oh, we have Ernesto in the house, another divine masculine men today. I'm full of
Ernesto.
divine masculine men on this chat. I'm so excited. We had
Yes.
Ernesto on our first interview with us.
And
So
another
so happy to have you here.
another Miami Made member too, really smart guy, and just grateful to have him as a friend and part of the group. So great to see him on.
Yes, beautiful. So, okay, great. So, this gets you to where you are now, right? But I'm sure, like through this whole journey, oftentimes like the whole term of like divine masculine, it gets thrown around, and it's like, when do we even know when we're in the divine masculine or divine feminine, right?
Mhm.
And so I guess for you first, I want to start by defining in your own words what you think divine masculine is, and like what you thought it was, and then what it actually is
Yeah,
when you're embodying it. You know what I mean?
100%. Such a great question, and wow, it's difficult. There's so many different ways you can go with this, right? But I think where where it's at for me now, and what I describe and define as divine masculine, is courage, Mio. Courage.
Mm.
I think courage is a big thing for me. in terms of what divine masculine is. And this is for both male and female, right? And feminine oriented people or masculine oriented people, right? Like anyone can tap into divine masculinity, right? So that's number one.
Yep.
So I think it's courage, though. I think it's courage in terms of like being able to just be courageous in being vulnerable and being open, right?
Yes.
And I think that's important, being courageous in going after what you want without the insecurities of what other people think, right? Or wanting to be liked. So I think that's super important as well. And then what I thought it was and what it's certainly not, right, is it's not this like macho, you have to hold your feelings in and be strong, right? Strength is, of course, part of divine masculinity, but you don't have to be strong and sacrifice sharing your emotions and being vulnerable. Like that's not something that you have to sacrifice as being part of a divine masculine, right? Like the old paradigm was, you know, just toughen up and get over it, right? When all this emotion is being bottled up inside and suppressed, and unfortunately, like, you know, that's what creates all this tension and stress and anxiety for men or women, and being able to release that's really important. So if I had to define it right now, it's being open, being vulnerable, right? Being authentic, whether it's in relationships with your partner, whether it's in your work and your friendships, right? But also the courage
To yourself.
to yourself. Amen, right? To
But also the
yourself.
courage.
And to have that courage to be open, to be vulnerable, right? So I think courage is the word that comes up for me, is to have that strength, right? Because, you know, you hearing Julian and you talk yesterday, he talked about the metaphor of the mountain, right? Like the mountain as the masculine, and that's a perfect metaphor. It's a mountain. It's that strength to hold space for your intentions, for your goals, but also for other people, to be that security, to be that protection for other people, to allow the feminine within your partner to flourish, allow the feminine within yourself to flourish, being courageous to allow your feminine energy to arise when you might not be feminine prototype, or you might be more masculine.
And by the way, let me just interject there for the audience. When he says let your feminine energy come out, it doesn't mean you're feminine as in a woman. It means feminine energy, which is an energy of stillness, of receiving, of allowing, of inner stillness. It's a receptive type of energy. So just so you guys don't get confused out there, because I know there a lot of people like to collapse like feminine and woman, or male and masculine, and they're completely separate. So
yeah.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Joe.
no,
Sorry about
that's
that.
great. So no, that's perfect. That sums up my point. And Kevin just shared a great comment. It's like, you know, vulnerability is the source of our greatest strength, right? And it's like,
Oh,
it's
yes.
like this idea of going from, you know, vulnerability creates us to be invincible, right? And instead of us having to think that we're invincible from the start as masculine men or masculine beings, you know, we can become vulnerable, and then through our vulnerability, we become invincible, right? Because now we can open up and we can share and we can reveal ourselves. We can open up about our dark times, our challenges.
Well, you know, essentially at the end of the day, then you no longer have an Achilles heel, right? Because you've dealt with it yourself. So there's nothing that can break you down after that,
Right.
because you're whole.
Right, right. I love this analogy, right? This is kind of a weird analogy, but there's that movie from the early 2000s with Eminem, 8 Mile, okay? And and he does a rap battle. He does a hip hop battle with, like, they're doing like a rap battle, and in his freestyle, in his rap, he says everything negative about himself on what the other person was gonna say to like diss him. And like that rap actually like left the other person like with nothing to say, and he won the rap battle, right? Because he was so vulnerable about his past, he was so vulnerable about his mistakes and his issues, that he just
And clear. You're
and
clear about
clear.
it. You've made amends with it. You've forgiven yourself. You've forgiven others. You're a clear channel. You're aligned.
Right.
You're centered. You know.
Exactly. So that's powerful. So when I think of the divine masculine now, I think of courage, I think of vulnerability, I think of openness, and it's no longer this paradigm of like we need to hold in our feelings. We don't have to communicate our feelings. We can just toughen up and get through it, or just pull ourselves together, right? That
Yeah.
suppression doesn't help anything or anyone.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Joe, because that was actually one of the questions that I wanted to ask you about, the stigmas and paradigms around masculine, around men, and around masculinity. Did you ever deal with any of those in your journey? And if so, tell us about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Trying to think. Well, yeah,
Or did you find yourself caught up in it?
yeah, like for sure. Like I think in my past, I've definitely dealt with it, not knowing how to handle my emotions, not knowing how to express it fully. I grew up with a father that was in and out of the house. He battled with alcoholism and drugs, so I didn't get to see a divine masculine all the time. There was moments where I saw love and I saw lots of genuine connection with him. So I'm grateful for those moments. But then there was other times where it was just completely absent, and there wasn't great communication in my household at times because he was in an altered state, for
Yeah,
part of that time, or he was absent, right? And it
yeah,
led to a separation and divorce with my mom and my dad when I was 12. So I didn't get to see a whole lot of the divine masculine at work, right? So in that sense, I saw some old toxic ways of masculine in that sense, right? And then I think just dealing with that as a teenager, dealing with that in my early 20s, I didn't know how to fully express that and to be vulnerable, right? And to be open and to share that openly. And then my dad passed when I was 18, so I didn't get a chance to really um, I didn't really open up on that until I was in my early 20s, right? So it's only until then I started to learn more about like how to be vulnerable and be open-minded. So I fully dealt with that whole like stigma,
the
the
stigma.
stigma of just being closed-minded, being closed down, not being able to express yourself emotionally, not being able to cry, right? Like masculine can cry. Like I'm fully capable of opening up and feeling emotional and crying right now. And that's a powerful thing. That's a really powerful
Yeah,
thing that I couldn't do that in my teenage years or my early 20s as well. So
yeah.
um, I think that comes up for me a lot. And but I've also been fortunate enough to have many divine masculine men in my life as well that have supported me and showed me by example or through conversation what it means to be more open, be more divine, and be more mindful um, and vulnerable.
Amazing. And for those of you guys tuning in, if you missed the beginning of the recording or if you can't stay till the end of the recording, just know that you can click on the link in my bio and get the recording sent to your inbox. So make sure to do that so you can catch this live and all the other interviews that we've had on the Divine Masculine series. So you mentioned men in your life, and I love it because that was my next question. You're on it today, Joe. I wanted to ask you, who are these men, or what were these influences that you saw or that maybe you emulated throughout your path? Because, that's how we learn as human beings, is by watching and seeing others and by taking examples and fostering those examples. So like, who were those men for you, and what opened up for you as a result?
Yeah, great question. And the biggest uh, the biggest influence that comes to mind is my grandfather. So my grandfather on my mom's side, when I was going through tough times when I was younger, when I was 12, 13 years old, and there was this separation in my house, and my dad was really going through the worst of his own, journey, with alcoholism and drugs, is like my grandfather stepped up and really was there for me. He was there for me by example. He was there for me, that he showed me what it was like to truly be there for family, to support family, to be there emotionally for family, to hold that space. We talked about the masculine being that mountain to hold space for other people and to allow other
Mm-hmm.
people's emotions to go through their hurricane, and to be that
Yes.
masculine mountain there was really powerful. So I saw that, and that really helped. And then just from a role model standpoint, from a business standpoint. You know, he owned a real estate development company, and I
Oh,
worked.
no coincidence you ended up going into real estate.
Yeah, I had that connection
Yeah.
with real estate through family, right? Because I worked summers in my teenage years for this development company on construction sites or at properties, helping out with management. And there was a few things that he told me that really stuck, that were really powerful. One of the things he said to me was like, this is going to sound awkward, but he's like, be the screw-e, not the screwer. Like when you're in business, don't screw someone over. Don't be like naive and let yourself get screwed. But if there is a situation where someone screws you over, like let it go. And now you know not to do business with that person again, ever again, right? Like instead of like trying to bite back and create more trauma, just like allow yourself to be the screwy. Now he's lost the opportunity to do business with you the rest of his or her life, right? So it's
Yes.
like be the screwy, and basically that's just another way of saying do the right thing, right? Like do the
Yes.
right thing in business. And so like he showed me so much about integrity, right? Integrity in business, integrity with relationships, integrity with our friendships and our coworkers. So that was a really powerful lesson that he shared with me. And he was also a very generous man too. Like he was part of the community, giving back to the community, and you know, was really successful in business, but also shared that success with others and wanted to lift others up. So I thought that was a really powerful, you know, lesson as well. And he was just a
Yeah.
really influential man in my life, you know, on many different levels.
Amazing. Amazing. And you were able to take that and maybe emulate some of those things to make you who you are today. And so that's incredible. And Joe, I want to ask you about community because, you've mentioned a few people already that have been on your journey, pivotal in your journey. We really don't thrive without community. And so, the divine masculine is really, both the feminine and masculine are the center of the community. Without them being in harmony, the, community doesn't work. But for the sake of this conversation and for people out there to see what the divine masculine is up to as far as males, men on this planet, what are some ways that you're giving back? I know that recently you were on a trip that you were on. I'd love to hear about that. And what are the ways you give back? Because I think what you're doing for the community is really incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, and just 2 weeks ago, I finished up a week-long trip in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains, and I'm grateful to be part of this nonprofit called Genesis Hopeful Haven, and it's a nonprofit for foster children and aged out youth that have aged out of the foster care system and now are just kind of like thrown on the street to kind of survive on their own at 18 years old. And some of them still live in foster homes, but a lot of them, you know, no longer can live in the foster care system. So Genesis provides programs for job opportunities, internships, and life skills camps for these aged out youth and also teenager foster children. So building them up for the real world through life skills camps and training programs and after school programs. And one of the programs that they just initiated like 2 years ago is a travel program, an explorer program, where they select like 4 or 5 kids to, or 18-year-olds, to actually go on a trip to see another part of the world. So we did the Grand Canyon 2 years ago. We did the mountains in Tennessee this year, and I was offered to become a chaperone for this nonprofit, which was amazing. Like, so grateful for the opportunity. It was just, you know, a week of bonding and activities with these, you know, young adults that, you know, 4 out of 5 of them never been on a plane before, a commercial jet before,
Wow.
right? Like they're not
Yes.
exposed to these kinds of things. So to just
Yeah.
have conversations with them about life was really amazing, and to have some good fun with them. And now we're all on a WhatsApp chat, and we're going to get together like once every month or two for, you know, a dinner or a hangout during the day, and stay connected with these guys, which is great. So
Oh, Amazing. The divine masculine at work, that's what it's about. So you are basically being the influence on them, the example for them to see what it is to step into the divine masculine, what it is to be a man in this world and walk this way and be this way. So wow, thank you so much for that
Yeah,
contribution.
thank you. I appreciate it. And one other thing that, I do, I don't talk about as much, but a program that I did start back like about 8 or 9 years ago, like right when I went on my journey of personal growth, was I signed up for Big Brother Big Sister, and I've been sponsoring a guy since he was 9 years old, and now he's 18. So and
Wow.
we don't hang out a whole lot anymore, but we stay in touch. We were hanging out every month, just like activity, arcade, baseball game, beach. And now he's going to college in FSU, and we're friends now. So it's great to have that connection as well. And he lost his father when he was like 8 or 9, so younger than I was when I lost my dad. But just to be there, and not to fill a role as a father, but just to be there like a cousin or a friend that he can hang out with and have a meal with, is kind of a cool thing. So
Amazing. Incredible. Wow.
thank you.
Wow, that brought me like almost tears to my eyes. That's incredible
Thank
because
you.
that's what it's about, That's what community is about, and we all need that. We all need that type of connection. And even though, like you said, it might not be like this really close contact every day or anything, but that boy knows that he's supported, and he knows that if he ever has a jam or needs help, that he can call you, and that goes a really long way. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
But you mentioned something earlier, and just so you guys know, we have some questions from the audience that we're going to answer towards the end of the interview. So stay tuned for that. But if you can't see the whole interview, get the link in my bio to get the recording. So I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned the middle way, and I noticed in your bio that you and I we're both Vipassana students.
Yes. Yes.
So for the audience out there, I wanted you to tell them a little bit about, Vipassana and like how you got into it and why you did it. Because I think there's something really powerful there for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. When did you do your Vipassana? What was your experience?
Um, yeah, I did it in 2019 in Morocco.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
yeah, it was incredible.
Nice. I did it in 20,
Goenka,
27, 20.
Master Goenka.
Ah, it's beautiful. I did it in 2017 in Mumbai, India, in one of the largest
Nice.
pagodas, which is like Buddhist temples in the world, in Mumbai, India. And
Wow.
yeah, how did I get into it? Well, I've been practicing.
Were you on that travel,
Yes,
like that
yes.
2 year thing?
I was
Wow.
during
Okay.
my 2 year travel, and I was in India, and I was lucky enough to come across a friend of a friend who now is one of my very close friends that lives in Mumbai, and I got introduced to him, and he basically took me in for a couple months out of my 3 month trip in India, and he showed me all around India. He has different ashrams that he's a part of, and a guru that he's a part of. So this guru kind of planned out our Vipassana session in Mumbai, and we got a 10-day scheduled in there, and it was incredible. I was already doing meditation for about 5 years, but this just took it to a much, much deeper level, right? A much more profound level in
Yes.
terms of, you've done it, right? So you're going
Yes.
through this physical, emotional, and mental just awareness, like hyperdrive, right? Where like, for those of you that don't know, it's you're basically nothing other than just your thoughts, because you're not talking for 10 days, but there's no phone, there's no computer, there's no tablet, there's not even
There's no
journals, there's
books,
no
no
writing,
journals.
no pens. I was like, and I was writing at the time, like I was like plotting out my book, and I wanted to write so much for those 10 days. I was like, can I just write like on the wall with toothpaste? Like, can I do that? Like, I was like so anxious to write down my thoughts because I was going through so much, like so much was arising in me through this
Right.
meditation work. And it's 10 or 11 hours of meditation a day. So you're up
Yeah.
at like 5 a.m.
5.
Yep, you're up at 5 a.m. and then and you're basically eating twice a day at like 7, and then another time at like 4 p.m. or like no earlier, like I think 12. And then you're doing like an 18-hour fast with like a little snack in the evening time. And again,
You're like in bed by like 9, 8:39. You're like
yeah,
done.
yeah. And then did you meditate in the dark rooms as well, the private cells as well as the group?
No,
Just the group
no, I
rooms.
didn't have those.
Okay.
Yeah, just a group.
Yeah, so we would have the group rooms, and we also would have like the private pods too. That was like maybe 25% of the time. Most of it was in the group with the guided meditation. But yeah, it was such a, you know, uh, painful in a way, because like you have to like kind of continue sitting in the cross-legged lotus position. So like I'm at the time, like my hips were very like rickety and not flexible. So like to sit in that cross-legged position for an hour was difficult. But then like the emotions and the thoughts that you see where your thoughts are dominated, right? You're truly building that awareness and then practicing that non-reaction, just being the observer. and um,
Yes.
and then it's from there where you get that awareness and non-reaction, that you can kind of create this foundation of stillness. And then like the last 2 days, they inject the compassion in, right? The gratitude and the compassion in. And it's like that's when the magic starts happening, because you can start to really be clear of what thoughts are helping you and what thoughts are not serving you. And then, you can let go of those ones that are not serving you, and then you can bring in that compassion, that love, that gratitude, that abundance, from that quiet place, that quiet mind, that inner stillness. What
Amazing.
was it like for
Joe,
you?
would you,
What was it like for
oh,
you, Vipassana?
it was incredible. I say that what I experienced was that I rebooted my DNA.
Mm.
I literally rebooted my entire DNA. And actually, I haven't drank alcohol in 3 years since my Vipassana, or
Wow.
2 years.
Wow.
And I credit that. I credit the Vipassana for that, because
Wow.
I just don't have the desire to have any alcohol on my lips anymore. Like it just doesn't come to me anymore.
Wow.
It just completely eradicated it. Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
amazing.
I would ask you, yeah, I would ask you, would if men were to come to you and say, should I do a Vipassana or should I meditate? What would you say to them?
I would say absolutely do a Vipassana. I would also say that get the basics of meditation first if you've never meditated before doing Vipassana. Just do a couple months of consistent meditation of 3 to 5 minutes, and then maybe 10 to 15 minutes as you build yourself up, and then you can jump into a 10-day Vipassana um, course. There was like
Beautiful.
a good 10-20% that dropped out 4 or 5 days in, because it's a lot. It's a lot of takes a lot of patience and a lot of stamina and a lot of just sitting with your mind,
Allowing.
allowing,
Yeah.
right, accepting and allowing, right? So but yeah, I think
Yep.
it's absolutely worth that journey if you're curious about it. Is actually my buddy just jumped on now that I did Vipassana with Vinit.
Oh, cool.
Vinit, what's
Oh,
up,
what a
man?
coincidence.
He's
That's amazing.
he's my friend that I met in India through a mutual friend. Like we talked to each other before, and we talked on the phone and on group texts, but we never met until I got to India. And he was the one that kind of made these connections for me, and we traveled for two and a
Amazing.
half months together.
It's always good to have a friend in India. I have one too. And
Yes.
like that's my friend. Like I will never let go of him. Like Umar, he's out there. Like he's my boy. You gotta have a boy in India if you're gonna go to India,
Yes.
okay?
Oh, it made the trip. It
100%.
made the trip amazing. We went to all different corners of India and saw so many ashrams and spiritual places. It was amazing. And then like I said, we did the Vipassana together too. So it was so beautiful.
Incredible, incredible. Okay, so let's do some of, because I have two more questions for you, but I want to do a couple of the audience questions so we can get those done before we end the call. So, from Hello Betsy Ann, she asked, when it came to selling all your possessions, which one was the hardest to give up?
Ooh, great question. Great question. Well, I brought just like my computer with me and a couple of books. Of course, the Eckhart Tolle books I kept with me.
Oh
And
yeah.
I kept like my journal and like a bag full of clothes. Everything else I sold. The hardest thing that I think I did get rid of, well, it will probably be, I'll say two answers to that. I gave away a lot of books or sold a lot of books, like just on Craigslist. And there were some great books that I had that I can't remember if I put in storage or they're at my mom's house still. Like some great books that I had that I given up, you know. So that was one of them. But I had like a Jeep Grand Cherokee, like brand new, fully loaded, and like I loved it in 2013 and 14. And I drove that car around all the time, and I would have the sunroof opened and I would blast the music, and it was like the leather interior. It was a great car, and I definitely missed driving that. But at the same time, I was ready for a change in my life where I was ready to go on a journey, and I was ready to shift from materials to experiences. Experiences and inner peace were my priorities while I was traveling. I wanted to blog, I wanted to write, I wanted to impact others through my writing, and I wanted to eradicate stress. I wanted to meditate as much as possible. I wanted to read about spirituality, lowering stress. Like I will take that any day of the week over a really nice car, right? So I think that's the lesson there. But I will say this, it's middle way, right? Back to the theme of middle way. You can have a really, really nice car and be detached from it and have that same inner peace too. Like this is an end world. It's not an or world, right? So you can have access to both. I think that's really important. I think here's the differentiation with that lesson, because I had this conversation with a coaching client today. It's like, because we talked about like dressing up, right? And like there's this saying for athletes, like if you're dressed up in a uniform looking good, it's look good, feel good, play good. And there is validity to that, right? It adds to your confidence. It makes you feel good. You're going to play better. You're going to have more confidence when you're dressed well for a business meeting, right? But here's the kicker. Do it for yourself, not for others. Dress well for yourself, not for others, right? And I think that's super important, is like, you know, I think I did a lot of those material things back before my travels in 2013 and 14 for, you know, approval of others, my peers, to impress a girl, to impress my boss, to be this slick talking business guy, you know, like I have no problem getting a Grand Cherokee right now, you know, like I'll just do it in a better place. I'll be detached from it, you know, so.
Right, it won't define you.
Yeah. So again, that's where the middle way.
Oh, well, look, we have Hypercube saying, love this. Thank you so much for the distinction. Yes.
There's Jackson, my boy Jackson on here. Great to see you, brother. Jackson, another Miami Made member, a great friend of mine. Got to share a little birthday celebration together. We have both Geminis.
Oh, guess what? Is that Jackson? I'm going to interview Jackson on the Divine Masculine.
Nice.
As a last-minute bonus addition. We're going to interview him on Monday.
Jackson is awesome.
So we're going to see Jackson here.
So much wisdom in that guy. So he's gonna share a lot. But that middle way, Mio, is like, you know, you can see where you're tipping the scales, right? If like you're way too far on the achievement material side, you're going to be out of whack, right? And then if you're way too far on the, you know, like the non-material side, like that's okay, but you got to be living in an ashram, or, you know, you got to be a monk if you're going to do that, right? So it's like, it's this balance, that the masculine, feminine balance that you're always kind of tapping into.
So, you know, I love that you got rid of all your possessions, because that happens to be another synchronicity in our journeys that I also did in my own journey. I got rid of everything I owned. Yeah, and I started my life from scratch, and that's when I became a transformational trainer.
When did you do that?
This was 4 years ago.
Wow. What was your kind of, you know, epiphany or moment where you just made that happen?
Oh, that's a whole other life. But just to give you guys a little bit, my entire life imploded. So I got fired. My boyfriend broke up with me, and I lost my house. I had to give up where I lived. I had a high-rise apartment in downtown, loft apartment, beautiful, everything. I had the director position. I had the, you know, fantastically handsome boyfriend, 007, whatever. And it all blew up. It all fell apart. And I was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. I was hooked on Adderall. I was rail thin. I was falling out of my clothes. And I was standing there in my apartment, and I was like, okay, this is it. Like, if I take one more step in this direction, I'm going to the emergency room. And so I said to myself, I can't allow this to happen to me, because once my health is gone, that's it. There's no more. So I just started like just eliminating everything, just downsizing everything. And it was almost like instinctual. It was like a survival thing where my body was like, okay, this is it. You got to do what you got to do for you. So I could totally relate to that. And so when you said my Jeep Cherokee, I'm looking at my Jeep Cherokee. I love driving this thing. But you thought to yourself, you know what? It's either the Jeep Cherokee or it's a fully expressed and honorable experience that I get to, you know, expand myself and travel the world and learn and go inward and learn about me. So at first it probably was difficult to get rid of it, but now in retrospect, it was probably very well worth it.
100%. Perfectly said.
Yeah, yeah. And so we have another question from the audience. So it is it hard to engage straight men into the conversation of feminine and masculine energies?
Yeah. You know, I think for someone that's, for a man that's not privy to these conversations or to what divine masculine is, absolutely, it can be challenging, right? Because they're stuck in old paradigms and they're stuck into old conditioned ways of how they were brought up with toxic masculinity or toxic relationships growing up. So yeah, that can be challenging. I know it was difficult for me before I started to expose myself to what divine masculinity meant. But I think that part of opening up is communication, right? So, you know, I'm not sure exactly the direction of this question, but what I can say is openly communicating to your man about what you're feeling is really important, right? I think being able and being willing to share how it is that you're feeling is super important, right? And I think from there, you can start to work on some of the things that he might not be aware of, right? I'm not sure. What's your thoughts on that in terms of actually approaching someone that might not be as personally developed or involved with divine masculinity? How would you approach a
Yeah,
man?
well, absolutely. Well, I mean, first of all, it comes up a lot because as you know, I do work with men. I do men's workshops, men's circles, and I've been working with men for the last 3 years or so. And you know, so I've had a lot of conversations about this. And the key thing is that everyone out there needs to know and start learning is that feminine and masculine energy are energies that we all, no matter what gender we all carry them within us equally within us. So if we're able to harmonize our own masculine and feminine energies within us, it then helps us harmonize the relationships that we have with others. So oftentimes the problem that men come across is that they think feminine energy means female or woman, and it doesn't. Feminine energy is a receptive type of energy. It's a silent, still type of internal, you know, the best metaphor that I can give you is feminine energy is soil and masculine energy is the seed. So feminine energy is the soil that just, you know, it's a dark, cool, calm place, silent place that is receptive and that receives the seed. And the seed is the masculine energy, the doing, the going, the creation, the growing, the expansion. And so once I break down that distinction for men, all of a sudden it's like, boom, a light bulb clicks open and it's just like, okay, I get it. And now it diffuses it for them. It doesn't make it like a male female thing. It makes it an energy thing.
Right. And I think that's super important when you talk about the feminine in men, because it can become an amazing asset for you, right? It can become an amazing asset for what you want to do with your masculine energy, right? Because if masculine energy is that seed, it's that driving force, maybe the intentions or the goals that you have, maybe the discipline that you want to maintain, well, you need to have feminine energy in order for that seed to grow, right? You need to have space. You need to have this stillness. You need to have this like ability for you to just flow and go with the flow at times, right?
And brainstorm and internalize and meditate.
Right. And get that creative spark, right? All that creative spark is feminine energy, right? And then it's like you create this brainstorm session for yourself or with others in this feminine space, and then bam, you get so clear and so intentional with your masculine energy, and then you can drive and be very, very clear and intentional and action oriented, and the action becomes easier because you allowed your space to flourish femininely. So, and this is for both females too. The females can tap into their masculine energy, you know, after they've kind of let their feminine completely flourish as well. So That's a great way to put it, because when you look at it from a work standpoint or a creativity standpoint, it takes out the gender role out of it completely, and that's a great way that you can, share that with people. That's awesome. Great tip.
Exactly, exactly. And one of my fellow students, I have a master teacher, an Egyptian mysticist and master in feminine and masculine energy that I follow, Dr. Caroline Isis Fuqua. And one of my students in that posted, right, we are spirits playing the role of male and female. And that's absolutely correct. I mean, we are just playing a role of what it is to be male or female in this life. Next life I'll be a male and you'll be a female, and the roles will switch. But, for now, this is the role we're playing.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with our energy. And we have Jay Navarro coming in. She says, hi,
Yeah,
Joe.
Jen, she's a good friend of mine, and she's been to a mastermind or two of mine. She does great work as well in this space, in this personal development and coaching space. She's awesome. Great to see her on.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so last question, because I know we've taken up a lot of your time, so I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to sit with us. So, Joe, in everything that we've talked about, we've gone through the spectrum and we've really dove in, and thank you so much for being so open and vulnerable with your journey and telling us your journey. But when you think about, all the work you've done with men, all the work you've done in your own life, all the things you've learned from other men, basing it from nowadays, like in current reality and what we're dealing with now in current reality, what is one new message on behalf of men that you think that women could benefit from hearing right now? No pressure.
Yeah. All right.
What is one new message on behalf of men?
5 easy steps, right? No, but no, that's a great, wow. That's a great question right there. That's like the grand finale.
Yeah, like what are you guys talking about? What are you guys saying when you're like, I wish women could know that this,
Yeah. Yeah. Great question. I would say this. We truly cherish your natural feminine energy. We truly cherish your natural feminine energy, and we want to hold that space for you to be your fully feminine self and to be emotional, to be, that ocean that's always moving. And we want to be that mountain for you when it comes to relationships. If we're talking from a male-female, masculine-feminine relationship, we want to be that mountain, that deep blue sea under maybe the waves and the current of the feminine energy. We want to embrace that for you and allow you to embrace that for yourself, because that's what attracts us. There's the polarity attraction to your feminine energy. So I think that's really important. And I think also too, from a relationship standpoint, is we love when your feminine energy, and not even masculine, feminine aside, we love your support in our work and being our biggest cheerleader and supporting us in our work to help us, because sometimes we don't believe in ourselves and we need our partner to help believe in us. And that goes both ways too. So that being said, we also want to hold that space for your feminine energy to create the masculine energy in the most productive way. And if there's more of a type A female that wants to achieve, we want to be that support for her too, to be able to achieve the way that she wants to achieve and create. So again, just to tie it back, I think that we really love and are so attracted to your feminine energy, and we want to allow you to fully express that and be emotional. We want to allow you to be emotional, and then we want to feel okay too showing our emotions. And as we talked about in the beginning of this call, is like new masculine energy, the real masculine energy is being vulnerable and being praised for being open and vulnerable with our own emotions as men, and being okay. That has nothing to do with lack of strength. That actually shows our strength. So just to having that communication with our divine, our sacred female feminine with our divine masculine is such a beautiful combination.
Amazing. Guys, I hope you took notes, because that was a golden nugget. I hope you guys have taken notes. This has been such an incredible conversation. For those of you who didn't get to see the whole live, if you want to catch the recording, click the link on my bio and put your email and I'll send it to your inbox. Joe, you are amazing. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. This has been so amazing.
This has been so much fun. So grateful for you putting this series together and grateful for the invite here. Like, you're doing amazing work, Mio, and I'm so grateful for our connection in this community of just conscious entrepreneurs and just conscious people that are trying to make a difference and are making a difference. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. And for you guys out there, just so you know, I'm going to be on tomorrow with Andrew, another Divine Masculine Man. So make sure to sign in for that. On Sunday, we'll be with Jeff Parker. And on Monday, we'll be with Jackson. So make sure you keep on tuning in. These Divine Masculine conversations are on fire. If you missed the recording, if you missed the live, get the recording in the link in my bio. Send your questions in because we answer your questions. Any questions you have about feminine and masculine energy, send them in and we'll answer them. And again, thank you, Joe. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I love you. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to one another. And I will see you soon.
Cheers.
Love you
Bye.
guys. Bye.